Hello and welcome to TMI. It's not TMI live today. It's a pre-record, so it's a podcast today. The reason is because I have a Knights of Columbus meeting tonight, so I won't be able to join you live. But this I've pre-recorded earlier today. It is Wednesday. It is Ash Wednesday specifically, and that's the reason why I have that as the thumbnail today. So for those of you who are Catholic, get your ashes today. I got mine this morning. And for those of you who are wondering around, what are those folks walking around with schmutz on their forehead? It's because they're Catholic and they went to service today. And today is Ash Wednesday, which marks the start of Lent. And for those of you who partied last night, that is Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras, and that is the last day before Lent. In Lent, that's what we're going to talk about today, is the season of fasting, of reflection and atonement in the traditional Catholic calendar, and you're supposed to be much more somber. And there's some fasting involved and abstinence from a lot of rich foods and overly pleasurable activities in trying to have a more somber spiritual time right now, and hence why everybody sort of front-loaded all of their fun and debauchery and that they will atone for, I guess, on the Fat Tuesday before Ash Wednesday. But that's a little, we'll get into that. I don't want to get a little ahead of myself here, but let's get started here talking about stuff. And for those of you who are joining us on the side chat live, I won't be able to answer any of your comments that you post up there because, well, obviously this is not a live, but hopefully you're watching this. And if you have any questions about anything that's going on, hopefully somebody else in the live stream chat will be able to answer you. We've got some really smart folks who regularly watch the show who join the chat. And oftentimes I rely on them to fill in the information that I don't have. So hopefully you'll have your questions answered on the side chat here. Okay, so let's bring up our sponsor here for today. And you saw in the beginning intro graphics there. Our main sponsor for today and our longstanding sponsor is Aura, which is a cybersecurity company and service that I use to help protect me when I'm online. They offer a whole suite of services for one low monthly fee, and some of the services include data monitoring, spam blockers, fraud alerts, and two very important ones to me are the VPN service, so when you're traveling, when you're using public Wi-Fi, you can use a VPN that they set up, and it provides sort of like a security firewall between you and the public Wi-Fi and the internet. Because I don't know if you didn't know this, if you're using public Wi-Fi, anytime you're logging in with your passwords or whatever, like just logging into your email or logging into your bank or whatever, that information is not encrypted in between you and the internet. It's not encrypted. So if you're using public Wi-Fi, anybody who has administrative access to that public Wi-Fi has access potentially to all the signals that are going in and out of the public Wi-Fi before it goes into the internet. So that's why it's helpful to have a VPN. Also, there's other reasons why people have VPNs. It allows you to spoof or pretend that you're someplace else that you may not be physically. Let's say if you're blocked from content on some of the streaming services you can't watch, maybe you like to watch stuff that's only available in England or in Europe or in Asia because of licensing issues or maybe censorship issues. Well, having a VPN allows you to set where you are, or at least virtually where you are, so you can get access to that content. And sometimes when you're traveling, I've heard of this, is that if you're traveling in other countries, sometimes you get cheaper airfares if you are local, using a local internet, that you can get access to fares that you couldn't get when you're overseas. Well, if you use a VPN, and you're traveling somewhere, well, you can use the VPN to say that you're somewhere else. And this is not illegal. I'm just saying that these are some things you can do, fun things you can do with a VPN. And the other thing I like about Aura is that they offer a data broker removal service. And if you didn't know this, data brokers are these online services that buy and sell information about people. Every time that you create an account somewhere buried probably in that the user agreement is that they can share your information with their trusted partners. And unfortunately, that's just the way of the world. And so, Facebook, Google, all these other companies share that information with people who contract, who have business contracts with them. That's part of the sweetener of the deal. Is like, hey, if you you know pay us to handle things, we'll share some of the information of our users, and that's their part of their business model, and your information gets bought and sold constantly by these data brokers who get access, who buy these lists of users from various companies, and they sell it to other companies, and that could they could be selling it to other marketing agencies. That's the reason why you get a lot of spam and junk mail, is from these lists that you can buy from data brokers. Well, you can get yourself off of these data broker lists officially. You have to actually go to each of these data brokers and officially request to have your information removed. It's a kind of a tedious process. There's hundreds of these data brokers out there. Well, if you use Aura's data broker removal service, with a press of a button, they will officially, legally request to have your data removed, your information removed from these data brokers. And it's so easy. And here's the thing: if you use my my code that's on screen right now, and use my my code aura.com/moondog, you can try them out for 14 days for free, absolutely free. And you can use all of those services, including the data broker removal service, during this 14 days. So use my code aura.com/moondog, and you can make use of all of these great services from Aura. I'm pretty sure you'll find it useful enough that you'll keep them on. All right. And our other sponsor is Mad Hat Jerky, which is a little bit ironic today because it is a meatless holy day for Catholics today. So I can't even make use of any of the Mad Hat Jerky that I have, but I can show you some Mad Hat Jerky. This is some of the best beef jerky I've ever had. It's made by this young man, Matt, out of Pennsylvania. He's like 19 years old, but he started this company when he was 11 years old. Can you believe that? He started this company. He creates all of this. He and his family hand make all of this jerky in their workshop. And yeah, this is all handmade stuff, all natural. It's like no carbs, no new nitrates, no sugar, no MSG. At least in this particular one, he has some other flavors that have sugar. So yeah, but this particular one, which is the Gourmet Flank Punch Yograma Spicy, and it's using a Carolina pepper. So this one's they're super, super spicy for those of you who like spicy. I like a little bit of spice, a little bit of heat, not really, but so I prefer the non super spicy one. But if you like spicy and you don't think Tabasco is enough, you'll love this particular variety. And they've got such a large selection, great flavors, and especially if you get the Gourmet Flank jerky, fairly tender. For beef jerky, very tender and very yummy. So use my code Moondog and you get 15% off anything you order on the website there. So, and you use that, you can find, by the way, you can use the QR code that's on screen right now, or if you if you go to my website, moondogindustries.com, and you look for the show notes, which are also in the description, the video description down there, you can find my show notes, and I have all the links to the sponsors and everybody else. You can find the links to the sponsors in the video description as well. So use my code or type in coupon code Moondog when you check out, and you get 15% off. All right. So every episode, I try to give away some stuff, some prizes. And let me just bring this up a little bit bigger here. This is your visual clue, your first clue for the early birds who are logging into the show early. And the prize today, I should show you this. So the prize today, the first person I get a correct answer from will get a Vector Optics patch and a Vector Optics poker chip. And this poker chip has a coupon code for 12% off of anything at the Vector Optics website. So that's pretty cool. You can get this chip, and you can get a patch. So for the first correct answer, and for the first 5 correct answers, we'll actually get a patch, and the first correct answer will get that chip as well. So that's the prize today. And let me see. Okay, there we go. That is your clue. This is this mystery brand. This is their mascot, also in the logo and the packaging. And this is how their mascot has changed over the years, starting in the 1950s all the way to today. And I'm not sure why they changed it. I grew up with the one in the middle, a top middle there, the blonde mermaid. And honestly, there isn't that much difference between that and then when they changed it up, or updated in 2000, other than, little changes to her fin. I guess, little slight changes, but then they really changed it in 2003. I'm not sure why, but maybe But any case, so what you need to do to enter the contest is email me the correct answer of what this mystery brand is. Put the mystery brand, with a hashtag in the subject line. Put the name of that brand in the subject line, and in the body of the email, put your mailing address so I know where to mail these patches. Okay. So send it to me at contest@moondogindustries.com. And again, put the correct answer in the subject line, and put your mailing address, physical mailing address to send your prize. And I'll send it out this week or before next week. All right. Okay, let's move on to our new videos for this week. And these are videos I posted up to my various channels. I got 3 channels so far on YouTube. And our first video today, I posted a challenge target video from my friend Hasbro and Nibs over at Walnut and Steel. They created this target that you're supposed to shoot with a BB or pellet gun. They have different categories for different BB and air guns. And I entered using a rifle, a BB gun, BB rifle that I actually won in a contest that Nibs hosted maybe a year ago now. And he gave me the choice between this rifle and which is the Daisy Power, I think it was a Power Line 840. And okay, I could be wrong by the actual sort of model name, but it's a Daisy 840. And this is the rifle that the first rifle I ever owned, or was given to me as a gift when I was I think I was 11 years old. This was early, could have been 1979 or about 1980 that I got this BB gun from my uncle. And that was the first rifle, first time learning how to shoot with a rifle, learning accuracy, learning shooting positions, learning how to breathe, how to concentrate, how to pull a trigger. All these skills that I use even today, I learned from shooting this BB gun. And the part of the challenge is you're shooting at 7 yards, and you're trying to hit these elves on this target. And it gets a little more challenging because some of the targets are toys and things. And I was using this, I think about 1983 vintage. I believe I forgot. I'm forgetting now. I looked up the serial number. There's a way to figure out when the BB gun was manufactured. But this is a mid 80s vintage BB gun in this challenge. So here's the video short from of how I shot that. No leaking I can hear, so that's a good sign. And that's a Discovery 2 to 12 MPVO that I have mounted to that. You can hear that. You can hear that trigger.
All right.
That little spring just creaking into that trigger is not the crispest, but that's what I was used to growing up shooting.
That's good.
Hear that?
I heard a little bit of leaking.
Yeah, that was air leaking out of the pump.
Put a little bit of mineral oil in there.
So I get, you gotta oil these things, and whoever owned this, who knows how long, where this BB gun came from.
But that's just a little bit to the right where I was aiming. It's still pretty close to center.
So in shooting that target, I did not do that well, and part of it was because every other shot or so, the BB gun would leak, and you could hear it even in the video, and it was a little frustrating because then I'd have to pump it again just to sort of top it off, and then it would be a little bit higher. Nibs tells me that this thing it's really not a pump shotgun in the traditional sense where you can pump it multiple times and increase the pressure. There is a certain cap on the amount of pressure that you can put on it, because you can even hear it when you open it up. Air will leak out, will shoot out. So there is a a finite amount of pressure you can put onto this, but it does make a difference if you pump it twice versus pump it once in terms of your point of impact. So yeah, it makes it a very challenging using this particular rifle, just because there's no consistency of and just the, I don't know, the vagaries of the pellet and the particular rifle. I just did not do that well in terms of accuracy. In my fond memories, I love this BB gun because when I was remembering shooting as a kid, I would shoot the tops of syringe bottles, not syringe bottles, of vials, of medical vials, because my mother was a nurse, so I would get the tops of these medicine vials. They're about the size of a dime, I would say, so smaller than a bottle cap, but essentially bottle caps. And I would stack them up on the cinder block wall in the backyard, and or on boxes, and tape them up into boxes. And those would be my targets. I would shoot them, I'm guessing maybe about 12 feet away, 12, 15 feet away. So they're fairly small targets, but that's how I learned accuracy and marksmanship, was shooting these little plastic vial tops. And I kind of remember my BB gun being a little more accurate than this particular Daisy. Plus, this Daisy, the front sight post is a little canted to the left. It's not true. So yeah, there's issues with this BB gun. But hey, I got it as a prize. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. It was free. I got it as a prize. So I'm just using it, and partially because of the skewed front post, and also my old eyes shooting indoors in my basement, I really couldn't see the targets all that well, or at least not well enough for me to feel comfortable shooting. So that's the reason why I put a magnified optic on there. I think I had it set at 2 power, so not very high, or 2 or 3 power on that thing. But that actually is a good use for this particular Discovery Optics MPVO, because it can focus down to 5 yards, which is great because I was shooting at 7 yards, and that's perfect. Yeah, if you're looking for a good BB gun optic, I can recommend this Discovery Optics 2 to 12, and also very, very inexpensive. All right. So moving on. Also on my Moondog 2A channel, I posted up a video that I shot while I was at SHOT Show, while visiting the PSA, the Paul Manor State Armory booth, where the two biggest thing that they wanted to show off to me was, one, that their pre-release of their staccato clone pistol, 2011 pistol, because it's a 9mm double stack, but also they're releasing their AXR rifle, which they showed off in the year previous as their Jackal 2.0, but they decided to change the name from Jackal 2.0. Part of it is they didn't want people to think that they were getting rid of the Jackal, or because they're still planning on selling the Jackal rifle series, and they didn't want people to think that was inferior to this particular rifle. It's just a different design, because this uses a short stroke piston. The Jackal uses a long stroke piston, closer to a foul type in the action. This was a short stroke, and this one's the AXR, which is sort of a nod to the ACR, which was the name of what was originally the Magpul Masada. And I always liked the look of that particular rifle, by the way. But similar to the ACR, this rifle has a proprietary upper and lower, so you can't just slap on the top of this onto a mil-spec AR-15 lower. You have to use an ACR lower, I guess, or theirs, and preferably theirs. But so it's a whole rifle package. It's not just a compatible upper. But this supposedly, since I haven't really shot it, addresses some of the concerns or issues that in terms of reliability and cycling that the original Jackal had. So this is the new AXR.
This is our AXR SSP rifle system. So it's a short stroke piston system, and it's completely modular. So we went with the short stroke system to be compatible with suppressors, make it great for suppressed use. It's got a couple adjustments on the gas knob, so you can tune it to your suppressor. The really cool thing about it is just how modular it is. So cut out a bunch of weight from the front versus our long stroke piston systems, and on top you see a bolt-on Picatinny rail. So why we did that is so you can change the length of that top rail, and you can also change the length of the bottom handguard. So it's completely modular. It uses a AR-15 style barrel nut system, so you can swap barrels at home, and all that's good. These are chambered in 5.56 and 300 blackout at launch, and you get fully ambidextrous controls as well as AR-15 compatibility in the pistol grip, trigger, and safety mechanism. The big difference in these is the short stroke system has a lot less weight up front. The other difference is the barrel nut system makes it where you can swap the barrels at home. You can't do that with the Jackal system.
Oh, good, great point. Great, excellent point.
Yeah.
So that's their new AXR, which will be launching very soon. And I generally like the look of it. I've always liked the ACR. I kind of wish they kind of would have fixed the issues with that and had released it. I kind of wish the U.S. Army would have adopted it, but they obviously did not. Part of it, the reasoning behind that is that it wasn't compatible with the older Colt M4 system. So it would be, you're essentially buying a whole new rifle. And I mean, even though there's a lot of parts commonality, but you know, hey, there's whole other videos on the whole Army procurement fiascos over the years. I'll point you to those. But anyway, if you like the look of the ACR or the Masada, and you want something that's in 5.56, PSA Palmetto Army has you covered, and hopefully that'll be coming out soon, because people have been sort of annoyed with the fact that they haven't released a lot of things. And I was speaking to the folks over at the PSA booth, and they have them ready to go. I mean, literally, it's not like there's any teething issues, or they've already solved most of the teething issues. The production is just holding back for a variety of business reasons, and one of them, this doesn't necessarily apply to the Jackal, but I was talking to them about one of their other rifles prototypes, that they said that it's all ready to go. They've got the tooling, they've got parts already in the warehouse, but they won't release it because of the particular ammo caliber that it was chambered in. The pricing of the ammo was, they just didn't feel from the market standpoint that people were going to be buying it because the ammo was so expensive. So anyway, I don't think that's going to be the case. I mean, I don't think that's the case that was holding them back on the Jackal there. But hopefully, I think they were saying that this is going to come out real soon. There's not going to be any real delay on this. So let's knock on wood, that's going to be the case. All right. So moving on to my reviews channel, my non-pew pew channel, I covered, well, this one's kind of an overlap, because this is a brand new range finding binocular from Tract. And this is a really high-end premium binocular, not just because it has laser rangefinder. Most of them are over $1,000. The ones that have incorporated a laser rangefinder into the binoculars, but this one has really higher end glass. This has German shot ED glass, and the binocular itself is assembled in Japan. So top notch engineering, construction, and materials, and you are getting not just a laser range finding binocular, but a whole ballistic system, because this connects with the software on your phone that they're partnering up with ballistics software, and basically it's like a very experienced spotter telling you how many adjustments you need to make based on wind conditions, atmospheric conditions, and it's ranging in the glass. It talks to the eye and gives you the appropriate dope to put in to your rifle. So if I certainly would need something like this, because I just don't have the training and the knowledge to shoot long range. I would rely on somebody else telling me what I need to dial in. Otherwise, I'm going to be spending a lot of money shooting and making adjustments. This promises to be that knowledgeable person for you. So let me just show you the bit of the interview that I had with one of the co-founders at Tract, John LaCourte.
Yeah, so this is the toric laser range finding binocular that incorporates Eagle ballistics.
Wow, okay.
10 by 42, Still uses the
Eagle
same
Ballistics,
shot
that's the
glass that
company that
all of our toric
has
products
the app.
use, as well as an ED lens. So this is a product that we're really proud of because it's what we feel is an excellent optic and an excellent rangefinder. A lot of the rangefinder binoculars out there kind of fall short in one of those categories. It also has the ability for you to actually adjust the laser beam. So if you've used rangefinders a lot, sometimes you notice that when you're pressing that button, the reticle is hitting something other than the target. You just know that that range is not correct. That's because there's a little bit of a
Yeah,
disparity between the
I've been
reticle
there.
and the laser. So in this product, it actually allows you to adjust the beam itself 0.5 milliradian in either direction, up, down, left, and right. So it's almost like sighting in your laser beam.
So I've been there, and even with handheld rangefinders, you know how that is. You're ranging something, and you're not sure is that that little crosshair reticle that you're looking at there, is that hitting that sign or is it hitting the ground in front of the sign? Not only are you able to make adjustments based on an object of a known distance of where the reticle is versus where you're actually getting a ping, a bounce. But you can also change the design of the reticle, which is kind of cool because, well, I mean, it's a nice to have, but certainly it's better than a lot of, out there that are just have a single a dot or a single square. Sometimes you want a different type of reticle to be able to see what you're aiming at or ranging. And I wasn't able to get a proper camera view through. Hopefully I'll get a chance to test this out in the next month or two when they finally get these shipment of these in from Japan. But it has really a lot of information that's displayed, sort of a heads up display when you're looking through that. It's very much sci-fi. I mean, we're living in sci-fi world now, but it's very much like Terminator, or to be able to see the kind of ballistics. I mean, we're not too far away from a world. We're already seeing scopes that have heads-up displays or displays built into them, like the Burris and some other, and the U.S. Army's getting one from Vortex. This one has all those bells and whistles and a binocular, so that somebody who's spotting for you, or you can self-spot for yourself and be able to make those adjustments based on the information that's displayed inside the binocular. And they're not cheap binoculars. They're about $1,400, but in comparison to like a Leupold or a Zeiss or any number of these really more expensive scopes out there, this is actually a bargain for what the kind of electronics that you're getting in a very high end with very high end glass. So even though it's certainly not a budget scope, it is a very reasonably priced scope for what you're getting, at least in comparison to the market out there. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. If you think that's a $1,400 binocular that allows you to dial in the appropriate dope to ring steel at 1,000 yards with a 15-mile-per-hour crosswind. If you can get that information to dial that in and be able to get on target in the first 2 shots, if that's worth that money, or in the case if you're going on a really expensive big game hunting trip and you're trying to get a prize elk at 600 yards, you could have a guide out there, but it would be great to be able to back that up with this kind of technology. I think that's kind of cool. And certainly if you're going to spend that kind of money to go on one of those once in a lifetime trips, I think you might want to spend a little more and spend some to get one of these things. But that's just me. Well, let me know what you think about that. All right. Moving on to my third channel, which is my travel channel. I got a chance to take my wife and the family down to Carmel by the Sea, otherwise known as Carmel, which is this charming seaside town south of San Francisco, about 2-3 hours south of San Francisco, and just right next to or just south of Monterey Bay. And Carmel has a reputation of being a sort of an artsy village kind of town. I don't know. Have you guys heard of the town of Carmel? My perception may be a little skewed because I grew up in California, but I've always heard of Carmel. And in the 80s, you may have heard that Clint Eastwood became mayor of the town of Carmel. And it has always had a bit of an outsized influence on a lot of pop culture because it's been featured in a couple of different movies. I'm trying to think. Basic Instinct, for one. The very expensive bougie house that Sharon Stone lived in with her husband, who she killed. That really expensive seaside house is actually in Carmel, which is kind of weird to me that the way that they did it in the movies, that the San Francisco police would go all the way down there. But I guess they filmed it in Carmel, or at least that house, because it was an expensive looking house. But I don't think in the movie it was intended to be Carmel. I think it was intended to be somewhere near San Francisco. But even though it was actually in Carmel, what other? I'm trying to think of how else Carmel has been in news. There's been a lot of famous people who've lived in Carmel. Ansel Adams lived there. Betty White apparently had a house in Carmel. And Brad Pitt has a house in Carmel. And of course, Clint Eastwood has a house in Carmel. He actually owned a restaurant there, but apparently he sold it in, I think, the early aughts. But I think it's called the Hog's Breath Inn, or Hog's Breath Tap. Still there, very expensive. Bar and grill. And I went by there just to look at the menu, and their signature burger was $32. Granted, it's a plate, but come on, a burger plate, combo plate for $30. Yeah. Needless to say, I did not go eat there with my family, with my wife and kids. We ate elsewhere, but there's plenty of sort of expensive restaurants and reasonably priced restaurants there. But it certainly does feel a little more upper middle class, lower upper class kind of a place, very much like where you'd have a lot of tourists in a coastal town, with lots of boutiques that sell summery kind of clothes, vacation clothes, I call them. And there's lots of art galleries and little tchotchke kind of. There's like a clock shop. We stopped by a cheese shop, which was really nice. I'm very fond of artisanal cheeses, and so my wife loves cheese. So we went there, and we spent a good almost like an hour there. I'm sorry, kids. My kids just sort of, well, they were on their phones anyway, but yeah, they did not appreciate the fact that their mom and dad spent all that time sampling various European cheeses at the cheese shop. And needless to say, we did walk out with a bag full of various cheeses, but they're very kind. They weren't trying to push you to buying lots of cheeses. And our cheesemonger, she was very clear in saying, like, don't feel like you need to buy any of the cheeses. She was just happy to have a sample, but they were just so yummy. Especially some of the aged cheeses from France, the really smelly ones. I don't know. What kind of cheeses do you guys do you like? I'm fond of dry cheeses, cave aged cheeses that have a lot of crunch in them from the salts that have crystallized inside of them, but also some of the funkier cheeses, with that have the fungus and the bacteria that really do smell like the feet of God, is what they've been described as. And I think, with the appropriate food, they can taste great. I certainly did not like smelly, stinky cheeses when I was a kid. I was certainly more of a Velveeta kind of kid. But as I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate those artisanal cheeses. But let me know in the side chat or the comments, what's your favorite sort of smelly cheese, if you don't like them at all. Okay, so let me just show you a little bit of the town of Carmel. This is their main street, which is Ocean Avenue, and just a couple of the stores that I walked by. So this is early in the morning. There weren't a lot of tourists yet. They certainly were much more towards the afternoon. And you can see some of the stores there. There's expensive kitchen stuff that was available. Lots of cafes, but and bakeries, and a nice candy shop as well, a traditional candy shop. Which if you've watched the full video, I end up at that candy shop at the end of this video of the walk. So you walk downhill from the highway, from the main highway, down Ocean Avenue, and eventually make yourself a way to the ocean or the beach if you so desire. But this is sort of the town, the village section. And if you keep on walking on Ocean Avenue, you eventually get over to more residential, to some expensive homes, and then eventually to the ocean. And I just posted a video of the walk over to the candy shop from the highway, and that's you'll find that at Moondog Go on my channel there. Okay, so those are the videos I posted this week. Here's your next clue as far as the mystery brand here, and this brand of canned seafood, along with its competitors Bumblebee and Starkist. This brand is one of the best-selling brands of canned tuna and seafood in the supermarket nationally in the U.S. So if you know what this brand is, put in the correct answer in the form of an email to me at contest@moondogindustries.com. Put the correct answer in the subject line and put your mailing address or shipping address in the body of the email so I know where to ship your prize. And the prize is a Vector Optics patch, because you'll see at the end of the show, Vector Optics is sponsoring a prize this month. You can win one of their LPVOs, and I've got it here. I can show you. This is their Vector Optics Continental. It is a 1 to 8 power LPVO with a fiber optic reticle, and this also uses German shot glass. I can tell you this is just super clear, very color accurate when you're looking through this. And the overall build quality is excellent on the scope. Does not include the mount, by the way, but you can get that from Vector Optics as well. Actually, this is a pretty nice mount that they make and that they include with it. Or you can just use your own or get it from another mount maker if you want. But Vector Optics also makes some pretty nice mounts and just the nice features of this. I've got a review of this particular LPVO on my channel, so look for that. And yeah, they're offering it as a prize. So that's also the reason why they're offering this as a prize for today. And if you are the first correct answer, you get a Vector Optics poker chip. And on the back of the poker chip is a coupon code, a special coupon code to get 12% off. So yeah, if you win that. So get your answers in. Okay. Down the rabbit hole today, and you saw from the thumbnail, it's Ash Wednesday today. So I wanted to give you a little rundown about what Ash Wednesday is. It is the first day of Lent, and Lent is 40 days of reflection and atonement in preparation for Easter. And the three tenets or the three pillars of Lent, and it's a Roman Catholic practice, but it really extends to a lot of Christian denominations, not just Roman Catholic, Anglican, Lutheran, Moravian, and I'm not sure which of the Baptists, but anyway, it's not just a Roman Catholic thing. And of course, the practice of 40 days of abstinence and spirituality also extends to the Eastern Christian tradition as well, though they have a different name for it. In fact, Lent is the English. It's the English word for the 40 days. The Latin word for it, and I hadn't heard of this before, is quadragesima. I'm going to screw this up. Quadragesima. Quadragesima. I might be mispronouncing that. Quadragesima. And I'd never heard of that term. Maybe you have. If you're older than me, and I'm 57, so I was born right just after Vatican II. But I'm old enough to remember going to Latin Mass as a child. But for those of you who went to Latin Mass, before, do you remember it being called Quadragesima instead of Lent? I don't know. Let me know in the side chat. But that's actually when I was researching all this stuff, that's the first time I've heard of that term. And all the time, growing up. Not that I'm a hyper Catholic, super Catholic. I'm actually a pretty bad Catholic, to be honest. Or maybe I'm just overly self-critical here. But I've never heard of that term ever mentioned in any masses or a church by or any homilies. So yeah, Quadragesima. Okay, but in Latin that means 40, because it's 40 days. And I was saying the 3 pillars are prayer, fasting, and almsgiving is what you really should be practicing as a Catholic or a Christian during Lent. And you should be practicing all of that all the time, but just to focus on that during those 40 days. Prayer, that's offering justice to God. Fasting, that's justice to self. And almsgiving, and that is giving justice to your neighbor or your fellow man. And prayer, of course, you should be praying every day, but especially during Lent. And fasting is the one that I wanted to talk about today. That is a practice that has been slightly changed in the history of the church, at least in modern history. Now it's just the fasting is on today, which is Ash Wednesday, also on Good Friday, and it is abstainment from food from or meat, I should say, abstaining from meat on those days. In older traditions before Vatican II, it was actually full-on fasting. It was you don't eat from dawn until the sun sets, and then afterwards you can, after the sun sets, you can have you can have a regular meal, or at least a not huge feast. The feasts would be reserved for the feast day, but you just have a regular meal. And you can get a sense of that in some older films in terms of pop culture. There's a film that came out in, I want to say, the early 90s called Chocolat with I think who I'm trying to think which stars were in that, but it was set in, I would say, the turn of the century, in a small French village where everybody, the mayor, who was, I believe, Alfred Molina, and I believe, you know what? I'll look this up. Chocolat film, who was in this. But anyway, so the plot of this, okay, Johnny Depp and Juliette Binoche were the stars of this film. And it's Juliette Binoche is this chocolate maker, and her daughter, she and her daughter move into this small town in France. And it's a very conservative town whose mayor is Alfred Molina, or played by Alfred Molina. And they're very conservative, so that they practice the traditional no eating during Lent. And here you have this sort of very free spirit woman who is a chocolate maker, and of course chocolate, and you would not indulge in chocolate during Lent, at least not in this conservative town. So there's the conflict in terms of the drama of this movie. It's all about denying of self, and just the overbearingness of sort of conservative values versus more sensual, humanistic. There's I don't want to get in, I won't get into the philosophical themes of that, but I just wanted to bring that up because back in the day, it used to be a much more strict form of fasting during Lent, and I'm not necessarily advocating for that, certainly for a lot of people, but I'm finding in last year's Lent, what I decided to do, and you might have heard this with Catholics, is you give up something for Lent. And part of giving up something is part of the reflection, or it's neither reflection or atonement. It's just trying to strip away all of the bad habits that you've accrued over the year or years, and trying to pare things down and get rid of your bad habits. And so that part of that is what you're supposed to give up for Lent aren't necessarily pleasurable things. It's not like during Lent you're supposed to give up all pleasure or all the good or things you enjoy. It's to give away or take away the things in your life that really get in the way of you being a much purer, or much more focused person. And for a lot of people, that is, in a superficial way. A lot of people will give up chocolate, like in that movie Chocolat. So because oh, chocolate is fun eating and fattening or whatever, but that isn't really the whole point of that. And last year, I'm getting older, I'm trying to be a little more healthy. So in previous years, I tried to up my physical fitness regime by doing various things like running and trying to get up to 10 miles. Never got to exactly up to 10 miles, but at least got to 5 miles. Or for Lent this year, I am going back to doing 50 push-ups a day. So that's what I'm going to do every day for Lent. And last year, what I did was I decided to try intermittent fasting, which I thought was appropriate because it's Lent and fasting. And for those of you who don't know, intermittent fasting is just basically skipping breakfast, or you could skip dinner. What it does is, the intention is your body uses up your fat reserves when it's not eating. And the biggest period where you're not eating is between dinner and breakfast, right? And that's where we get the word breakfast is the break in the fast. The fast being the last meal you ate and the first meal you ate. So, and it's easy to fast while you're sleeping because you're not awake to eat. So it's easier to do this sort of extended fast. It's sort of what intermittent fasting is. They really shouldn't. I never understood what the intermittent fasting is. They just should say extended fasting. So you can either do it by skipping dinner or skipping breakfast. In my case, I decided to skip breakfast, and it's not like you totally give up breakfast. Some people do. What I did was I just put off breakfast until 10 o'clock, 10:30. I started off at 10:30, 11 o'clock the first week. And depending on my schedule, sometimes I'll start eating at 10 o'clock now. But it really did. I lost like 8 pounds just by extending my breakfast and moving breakfast back to basically like having brunch instead of breakfast. And by the time I had brunch, I really didn't feel that hungry to eat until dinner. And sometimes even then I felt like, I'm not that hungry. So I would eat a very light dinner. So that's how I easily lost 8 pounds during that Lent. And, except for the first couple of days where, your stomach is grumbling. And fortunately, people I work at home, so there weren't people around me to complain about my being hangry all the time, or at least for the first week. But I found that to be a very helpful thing that I kept with me after Lent. And that's part of what Lent is. It's kind of like, how people have New Year's resolution. Well, this is really the actuation of a New Year's resolution, because you can say, I want to do this. This one forces you to pick something and do it for 40 days. And there's a lot of studies and research that backs us up, that if you do something consistently for 40 days, that habit becomes permanent, or at least more likely to become permanent than just trying to do something for a week. And 40 days is a significant number. Let's dive into that. So why 40 days? And it's why 40 days, and Lent is 40 days before Easter. And it goes back to a long tradition. And Judeo-Christianity. Christianity came from Judaism, and Judaism borrowed a lot from other religions older than Judaism, both from Egypt and from Persia, from Samaria, because Mesopotamia, because was it Nebuchadnezzar conquered Israel, or I don't even remember if that was called Israel back then, and they brought the Jews to Babylon. You can find that all in the Bible, talking about that, and eventually he allowed them to go back to Israel. Anyway, so they borrowed the Jews picked up a lot of habits and traditions from their neighbors as well. All of the Semitic cultures around there. 40 is a big deal It's a very common number that is considered special, holy, magical, perhaps. And you can find it in the Bible. One of the old stories from Genesis, Noah, 40 days and 40 nights, right? And you can make that as a metaphor that the story of Noah is that the world got so corrupt that God said, "Okay, I'm starting over, clean sheet. I'm gonna wipe out all the people and all the life on the earth, and we're gonna start over again." And so it took 40 days and 40 nights. So you can say that is a metaphor for cleansing of all of the bad things in your life. If you want to start over, it's going to take 40 days to do that. Or that's a good long time. And that, roughly translates to a whole month plus an extra week, a whole lunar cycle. That's where months come from. But I was wondering, like, why 40 days? I mean, understandably, 40 days is a long enough time of doing something or stopping doing something that it can change your behavior. But why is 40 an important number? And that was something I had to go look up because it just seems, I understand there's 40 days from the story of Genesis. Jesus and Elijah spent 40 days in the desert. Yeah, there's a lot of 40s in the Bible, but where'd that come from? And there were, I don't know if it ever actually says so in the Bible, but apparently there's a tradition that the 10 plagues of Egypt from in Exodus with Moses, that all the 10 plagues took 40 days, a span of 40 days before the last of the plagues, and Pharaoh let the Jews go. So there's another 40 reference there. But I still, I couldn't find a good explanation, at least not in my Google and AI searches. I did find references to 40 though. And I was looking specifically, did it come from Egypt or did it come from Mesopotamia in terms of a 40 being a very important number? And because one of the things that kind of threw me off was I knew that in Mesopotamia, they used a base 12 counting system, whereas in Egypt, they used a base 10. Here's what I'm talking about here. For those of you who don't know, in Middle Eastern and or at least in the Mesopotamian culture, they counted with one hand. Unlike, we have a base 10 system where we count like 1, 2, 3, 10 fingers. That's 10. But in Mesopotamian tradition, they counted with one hand. They used the thumb to count the knuckles and the sections of the hand. So starting with, let's say, knuckle 1, knuckle 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you got 12. You can count to 12 with one hand. And then if you count, like, this is 112, 2 12s, that's 24, 36, 48, 60. So 12 and 60 were the important numbers, the big numbers. That's the reason why we have 12 signs of the zodiac, 12 months. They divided the whole year into 12, and we get 60 seconds in a minute. We have 60 minutes in an hour. This is why 60 is significant. So where does 40 come in? Because it's not divisible by 60 or 12. So yeah, don't know where the 40 comes from, but I did look up. Apparently 40 is also an important number in another related religion, Indo-European culture. In Kyrgyzstan, 40 as written out is actually an important number with the Kyrgyz. And you can look up where Kyrgyzstan is, in one of the central republics in Central Asia. But interestingly enough, in a sort of side chat, Kyrgyzstan is the origin location of one of my favorite villains in cinema. And if you may know this guy, the Kurgan from Highlander, that's apparently where and the backstory where his people, or where he originally came from. He's effectively immortal, at least for the beginning part for most of the movie. A great villain, by the way. So the Kyrgyzstan connection, that's so wild. By the way, just a little side note, when I was doing this research here, the actor who played the Kurgan is named Clancy Brown. He's also the voice of Mr. Crab from SpongeBob SquarePants. So there we go. The voice of the Krusty Krab owner, Mr. Crab, is Clancy Brown, the Kurgan from Highlander. And they're making a reboot of a Highlander, by the way, starring Henry Cavill and John Bautista. John Bautista is playing Clancy Brown's character, the Kurgan. That's going to be, I hope that's going to be good because it looks badass. You got these two of them playing in Highlander. That, I mean, okay, I'm going to go see it now. But hopefully they don't screw it up because I just saw the trailer for He-Man and that looks like trash, even though it looks like they got some good actors. I could be wrong, but based on the trailer, looks like they kind of screwed it up, but whatever. Anyway, I'm looking forward to the reboot of the Highlander. Clancy Brown, great voice actor. Oh, Mr. Crab, seafood. Yeah. Go eat your seafood today because it's Lent. It's a meatless meatless day today because it's Ash Wednesday. And, that's the reason why we have filet of fish sandwiches, by the way, is because of Catholics not eating meat on Fridays. So there's the other connection. All right, so let's wrap things up here. I was going to get into other 80s movies today, but I think I've gotten a little long-winded about Lent. Maybe we'll come back to this. For those of you who are watching this, leave a comment here. Of these movies here that you see on the graphics here, I'm going to make the graphic a little bit bigger so you can see here. How many can you name based on these thumbnails? I was able to name all but 2 of them based on these thumbnails. So if you can name them, post them up on a comment or side chat, or post up your favorite one from these movies here. Let's talk about this. If you want to hear me talk, if you want to talk about this in a future episode, I would love to get into it. These are just this particular person's top 20 movies from the year of 1980, by the way. All right. So let's wrap things up today. We've got some contests that I want to tell you about. But first, let's get into the final clue for the Vector Optics patches. So the mystery brand, this canned seafood brand was started in San Pedro, California by Van Camp Seafoods and was later sold to Ralston. It gets its name from albacore tuna, which is noted for its mild white texture, much like chicken. And on her MTV reality show, this 1990s pop singer Jessica Simpson infamously admitted on camera that she thought this was actually canned chicken. So, yeah. If you know this mystery brand, put the name in send me an email at contest@moondogendustries.com. Put a hashtag with the correct answer of this mystery brand in the subject line and your mailing address in the body of the email. Okay. And we've got 2 contests, and one of them I talked to you already about the Vector Optics. You could win this Vector Optics 1-to-8 power fiber optic LPVO. And I have a second contest going on this month. This is a great optic, by the way. So you should definitely enter the contest. And even if you don't win, go to my website and you can find more information about it. And I'll share with you any discount codes. But this is a great optic, super, super bright, clear, very color accurate. And there's another contest going on my website where you could win an Olight Arc Pro. And I'll include a link to the contest right now on screen. Hold on. You know what? I'll post it up in the. I just realized I can't post up anything in the side chat, but I'll post it up in the video description. And finally, go to my website at moondogendustries.com/yard sale, where I am doing a fundraiser for the St. Anne Middle School class trip to DC. So yeah. You can get some of the products that I've reviewed in the past for at least half of what it is retail. I'm giving these items away for this fundraiser. You can donate money to the fundraiser, and I will give you the items on there. So it's great. It's a win-win for everybody out there. Anyway, thanks again for watching this pre-record, this podcast of TMI. Hope you got some good information about Lent, about the number 40, and anything else. And if you did, please hit that like button and the subscribe button and notification bell buttons. And we'll see you next week with a live show. Thanks for watching. God bless. Moondog out. Hey, I'd like to know what you thought of this video. Leave me a comment or chat with me on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, MeWe, Instagram, or Locals. And if you want to see all of my videos, go to moondogindustries.com.